Welcome back. Hey, this is it. We're on the topic of super mind. By now, you probably get that you own a super mind, free and clear, and it's all about how you use it. This session is about how to gain control over the mental images and the self-talk to make sure that you create the life that you truly desire. Now, you may have noticed, maybe not, but you may have noticed that I really haven't spent any time talking about religion or spiritual practices or philosophies, about God or universal intelligence. I do have a religious upbringing, and I do have a very deep and active spiritual life. But I'm here to speak to you as a scholar practitioner in the field of human development. And when it comes to the topic of the human mind, the idea of these superpowers and these religious or spiritual powers starts to get a little bit fuzzy. So let me help you understand something about this. There are four types of intelligences that we have. We have a physical intelligence. It's about the body. We have the emotional intelligence. That's about our self-esteem, and it's about our relationships with others. We have IQ, intellectual intelligence, and we have SQ, what's called spiritual intelligence. So we have PQ, physical, EQ, emotional, IQ, which is the mental, the mind, and we have SQ, which is spiritual intelligence. Now, what's been shown in science and research is that the brain has evolved from the reptilian mind to the mammalian mind to the neocortex, and the front end of the neocortex, the front right side, is called the prefrontal cortex. And a lot of neural research is going in to discovering what this is all about. When a person meditates, that part of the brain actually expands. We've been able to trace what's called the God spot. That place where we have spiritual experience seems to be located in the prefrontal cortex. What's important about this is that it contains a type of neural wiring unlike any other part of us. It's called unitive neural wiring or synchronous neural wiring. It gives us this ability to recognize our behavior is connected to the all of it. And for the first time, humanity is really awakening. It's evolved to awakening to understand that our local impact is having a global effect. That what I do to me has something to do with everyone else. What you do in your world matters to me. We can feel that, we can sense it. We have the type of neural wiring that's finally awakened us to know this for true. So it's a very important time in human history. We know more than ever before. And we're really on the verge of some very exciting breakthroughs. And my job as a researcher, as a scientist, as a practitioner, is to bring you practical application to make the use of this genius mind, this genius ability within you, totally accessible for you on a daily basis. To me, it's a horrible thing to see people de-geniused in a traditional school system. It's terrible for me to see someone suffering, wasting their magnificent mind, suffering and feeling like they're victims of the world that they see. When in reality, you have godlike design that's within you. You have power, you have capability. But if you use this power and capability wrongly or poorly, it really leads to all the worst possible outcomes. Poor motivation, lack of decisiveness, failure to take action, dwelling on past failures, fear of the future, lack of trust in yourself or others, self-sabotage, a lack of persistence or follow-through. Why would those be a part of our experience if we're given such magnificence and capability and have it be so accessible to us at any moment in time? Why? Habit. Habits of mind. Habits of expectation. So we've talked about going into the future, choosing the way you want to live into your life. We've talked about selecting those images of success. We've talked about overcoming the fears, the barriers that have held us back up until now. We've talked about creating supportive habits that would get us there. So what's left? What's left is being willing to maintain these positive mental images, to feel these positive emotions on a daily basis, to keep a positive self-talk all the way to completion. And so what I talk about, the powers of supermind, these are powers of stick-to-itiveness, persistence, consistent achievement, to be able not only get across the goal line, but to be able to do that again and again and again, and to know that it's within your capability to do exactly that. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you how you can support living from the true power of your supermind. Let me give you a real startling truth right here. Your history of mistakes or failures or shortcomings, all of those habits of thinking that are negative based on your past experiences, those are made up. And most of them are made up by a child who didn't know better. This is because as children, especially when we're under cognitive stress for whatever event was going on, we have a very limited view of what's actually occurring. So we have a lot of errors in judgment that ended up being played year after year after year. So those mistaken judgments play forward. But in addition to that, we have something called memory drift. Actually, our memories shift from time to time. What you remember to be true about it, if you have 4 or 5 other people who were there at the same time, they would tell you, wait, that didn't happen. What are you talking about? And we can collapse memories together. They can drift in a number of ways. So here's the thing. Let me give you a quick example of this so you can test this out for yourself. Right now, just close your eyes for a moment and think of a memory of yourself as a child. Think about you there experiencing some level of play or joy that you had. Look at that memory of you. Now, when you look at that memory, you can open your eyes now. Did you see yourself in it? Did you see yourself over there? If, for whatever reason, in that memory, you actually saw yourself over there like a child playing in front of you, it couldn't have been a real memory. There's no way. Because why? You're seeing your life through your own eyes. So you had to make up an outside reference of that experience. And this is happening all the time. When we have an event, we're actually continuing to modify that event in mind. Here's the thing about the way memory works. Very interesting. You can't see it because it's happening too fast. There is no place within your brain where the memory is stored as like a hard drive on a computer as a thing, like you could go into a room and pick it up and say, oh, here's my memory. It doesn't happen that way. What happens is your brain actually reconstructs in an area called a convergence zone in your brain. It's bringing bits of information together to actually remember, to member again these fragments of data to bring it together as a memory. You're actually creating it all over again in the moment. Because we've lived a long life with a lot of experience, what happens is those get goofed up. Let me give you another example real quick. If you would, close your eyes and remember the home that you grew up in when you were 7, 8, 9 years old. Now imagine your 2 parents standing in front of you, your mother and your father. And as you look at them, notice which one's on the left and which one's on the right. And now reverse their positions. switch them around. What happens to the memory? You can open your eyes. And most people will report that something is weird when you try to change it. It goes all wonky on you. Like suddenly they change size, or one becomes invisible or unvivid in some way. There's a big shift in the way that actually goes. Now this has to do with something called eidetic psychotherapy. It's more than we're going to get into right now. But suffice it to say that when you cue up a memory, as real as it may seem, it's a construction of your mind. So here's the question. If you're going to make up a memory, why not make it up in your favor? Make up memories that will support you in getting where you want to go. To do exactly that, I created something called the New History Generator, where you're imagining your life from birth to the present moment. Right? You know, here's birth, here's present moment, and out into the future. And so what you're actually going to do is you're going to see three paths. One path is the way that your life actually was. One path is the way your life could have been if you really want it. And then another path is your life with something unexpected happening. And by walking these three, you actually discover that your brain has the ability to select memory in a way that will support and serve you. And the final step is to see a choice of any one of those and then extend it on into the future. So you have a choice about picking from any one or all three and going on into the future with that. This ability of yours to begin to build a habit of expectation by your own choice gives you access to a power of mind you would have never believed possible for you. It's absolutely one of the most stunning realizations that I've had people ever discover. There was a woman that used the New History Generator Paraliminal. She said, all of my life, I suffered that my father had passed away when I was a little girl. I was 5 years old, he died. And all my life I wish I could have had a memory with my father. I wish I could have lived with my father. I wish he would have been a part of my life. So she did this, and it was over. There was no more of a longing. There was no longer an emptiness. There was no longer a void. She had the experience she had. She can now choose her life from there, and she chose fullness. It was a startling, literally every single day of her life she suffered until that moment, and the suffering was over. So it's a spectacular shift that can occur. Now, New History Generator is just obviously one of the really cool ways in which you can get in touch with the superpower of your mind. I'd like to give you another one as a way of thinking about it. It's called the Belief Paraliminal. How many times have you said, oh, I just can't believe it? Oh, yeah, I would like that, but I can't believe I would be able to have that. Well, the Belief Paraliminal is based on something that comes from the field of study of the human mind called hypnotherapy. What we know is that any significant belief that's affecting your life right now was installed in three parts. There is what we call an initial sensitizing event. As a child, even an infant, there was something that happened to you, and that in that experience, your nervous system became sensitized to watch out for anything that might be like that in the future. The second time something like that happened, it's called a symptom-producing event. Now your body is reacting, and now it's got a conditioned response to that. The third time it happens, it's called a symptom-intensifying event. And after that point, it's locked in, and the negative habit of expectation is running you rather than you being able to have a choice about that. So a lot of phobias are a part of this, a lot of dysfunctions, eating disorders, for example, things like bulimia are characteristic of that, but a lot of trauma that sets into the body is the same way. So what we do, again, using this capacity of yours to be able to work with a malleable memory system, is to actually deconstruct the negative impact and the errors of judgment, mistaken beliefs you created as a child, and then to be able to install, if I had a positive self-supporting belief that's going to take me forward instead of a self-defeating one, a self-empowering one, what would that look like? And you actually install within your brain 3 positive new representations of that that will install it for you so that you live a new, literally a biology change in your life. Your brain changes, your emotion changes, your body changes. There was a Bruce Lipton who wrote a book, a Dr. Bruce Lipton who wrote a book called The Biology of Belief. This paraliminal is going to help you take all of that into the way you want to live your life. So beliefs are going to support you from here on in. One of the really delicious paraliminals in this idea of using the supermind is a paraliminal that I developed with Bill Harris, the man who created the Holosync technology that's on all of the paraliminals. And this is called Fresh Start. Now, the reason that this is so important, remember I've talked about the reason that most of our negatives are in us is because of a habit of expectation. It's just a mental habit of living that way. Bill, in his life's work, has recognized that it's possible, starting exactly in this moment, to begin life anew. You can have a fresh start. The trajectory that your mind has been on up until now has no consequence, because right now you can choose how you live. And I mean, I've known Bill for a long time. It's really one of the most beautiful expressions of his deepest work that I've ever heard. Really enjoyed working with him, and it's very powerful for you to consider that every day, this day, is an opportunity for you to begin anew. Another one's super good, especially, you know, when you realize this is a superpower of your brain, but it affects everything. This takes the science of neoteny. Neoteny is the retention of juvenile characteristics into adulthood. Now, we're taking juvenile, like the adolescent kind of rebellious, possibility-oriented mind, into your adult mind, and we call it youthful vitality. So there are a number of characteristics like creativity and openness and playfulness that you can actually focus on and build within you. In any area of your life where that might not be expressed, you have the opportunity to express it. And Ashley Montague wrote the book called Growing Young years ago, and it's based on that principle, this ability that you can actually have a vibrant, vital mind and life into your very last days on the planet. You can carry this youthful vitality with you, and when you carry it in mind, it affects everything about your biology, everything about your neurology. You do come alive. Fabulous paraliminal, and it's a cool one because the metaphor that I use is about being at Big Sur and being in a hot tub next to the ocean. It's really lovely and relaxing. Another one I'd like to share with you, again, about the superpowers of the supermind, is the intuition amplifier. So maybe you have a sense that you're intuitive. I have been able to prove everybody on the planet is extremely intuitive. The idea of a sixth sense being not available is ridiculous. You have all 6 senses. You've got the 5 that we're all familiar with, but you also have an intuitive sense. And developing it is way easy, super easy to do. So the intuition amplifier brings that capacity online. Let me explain really quickly what this is about. All of us, when we receive an intuitive insight, although we don't know it, there is a sensory perception that happened out of consciousness just before it. So let's say, oh, a voice told you you should do this thing, and so you do it. Or, wow, I just got this flash of insight, so I did it, and it worked. Before that was some other sense that was giving you information from your vast bandwidth of processing and information, millions of bits of information every second. You have a tremendous 11-mile non-conscious resource. Your brain connects with it, delivers it to you in consciousness for the purpose of solving a problem, developing your creativity, getting to a result you haven't been able to accomplish up until now. But intuition is a part of your life. It is a superpower of your supermind, and you can amplify it and make it available and working for you on a daily basis. There was a young man who decided to be in a poker tournament, what do they call it, the world, what was it, the world, it's a world tournament. It's on TV all the time. It's not in my wheelhouse, so I don't know what the exact term is. It's like World Series, that's it. It's the World Series of poker. And he decided, you know, I love the game, never really gotten very far in it, but I'm going to really focus. So for about 10 days prior, he listened to the intuition amplifier. And what he noticed is that he could read every single person at the table. He knew when they were holding up, he knew when they were bluffing, and he could call them on it. He won the tournament. When I talked to him, he said, that's not what I'm going to do professionally, but to see what a dramatic difference it made to listen to the intuition amplifier prior to winning the tournament, it was like day and night. Now, best for last. I have mentioned this one, but I'm coming back to it now. And it's called Get Around to It. Get around to it. Why is this one an important part of a supermind? I would say that Get Around to It, for me, has been my all-time most helpful session. Now, I've mentioned I've done a lot with the prosperity to grow my business, 10-minute supercharger, saved my life all the time, sales leap, talking to win. All of these have been super important for me. Get Around to It is the one that kicks me out of hesitation and into action. It allows me to follow through, to be persistent, to get where I want to go. Get Around to It is absolutely spectacular. Let me tell you why. Very strange. But what I've done is I've created a protocol that lets your brain experience a compulsion to do something. But it doesn't become a compulsive disorder. It contextualizes it for that thing that you're trying to accomplish. When I first developed it, I gave it to an instructor for the photo reading program in Boston. She's a professional dive instructor, a member of the Professional Association of Dive Instructors, PADI. And for 3 years, every time she certified somebody, she had put it on a card. She hadn't filed her cards in 3 years, and they were in stacks all over her place, all over her apartment. And she said, you know, I got to get to this. Paul just gave me this Get Around to It Paraliminal, so I'm going to try it out. So before she went to bed, knowing that Saturday tomorrow, she was going to get this job done once and for all. She went to sleep. The morning she woke up, she thought, oh, well, time to get at that job. She couldn't find any of the stacks of any of the cards. They were gone. They were nowhere in her apartment. She went, what the heck? So she walked over to her file cabinet, opened it up, and they were all filed in there. And then she remembered, 2:30 in the morning, she woke up, and she wanted to get the job done so much, she finished it all, went back to sleep, didn't even know she had done it. I mean, talk about making it effortless. This is what it's about. Your mind being able to give you the resources to do the thing that you want to do without it feeling like a struggle anymore. Isn't that it? I mean, really, why not accomplish the things that you really want to accomplish? You got to get around to it, right? So listen to that one. It's going to be fabulous for you. You know you have goals. You know you have dreams. Why not live into them? Why live in a gap of limitation? Live the fullness of who you are. So, what is it to know that there are things that you have to do, to know that there are things that you can do, and to know that you haven't been doing them? I mean, what is that? You have to do it, you want to do it, you can do it, but you're not doing it. What is that? I started out today, I said, it's called the disorienting dilemma. You've got the resources, but you're not using them. Hey, it's natural. It's perfectly all right that you haven't gotten there up until now. It doesn't disqualify you, right? The good news is you've identified this area of your life that is the disorienting dilemma. Woohoo! Good. You're on it. The better news is that you have something that you can do about it that's virtually effortless for you to get started and make it happen. Time to get around to it, right? So this day has really been about two skills, right? It's about accessing the resources that are within you, and then about applying those resources in creative ways to produce the life that you've dreamed about. We've had 7 sessions. In addition to the intro, we've had 7 sessions. Abundance and money. It's about creating prosperity consciousness and greater financial abundance. We've had super connection with others. That's about creating sparkling relationships. With living each day fully. That's about creating power and effectiveness to enhance your job performance, create superior results. We did superpowers. It's about creating good skills and great habits so that your intention and your behaviors line up and get you where you want to go. About the super body. That's about great physical health and abundant energy. It's about super emotions, having a healthy emotional life and good supportive feelings every single day. Not just once in a while, every single day. And this final session about the super mind, you have control over your mental images, over your self-talk, over your thoughts. It's you. It's all you. Superpower, super you, that's today. This is what it's about. Now, I'm going to leave you with these final thoughts. I've dedicated my entire life to a very simple proposition, that the purpose of education is the liberation of human genius. The purpose of education is the liberation of human genius. Everything that I've created, everything that we do at Learning Strategies is designed to reach into that beyond genius magnificence that you are. It resides in you. It's time now to bring it forward into your life, to live the life of your dreams. Every day matters. Every day matters. Every minute of your life matters. You can't recover a single minute of your life that you spend. Every minute matters. Thank you for devoting this day to liberating that brilliance that's within you. Make tomorrow easy. Listen to a paraliminal tonight before you go to bed, and in the morning, get one out that's going to help you start the day in a new way. Peace and blessings. Paul Scheele, it's been my pleasure and honor to have this day with you. All the best.